All right, so it is recording. So we can go ahead and get started.
All right.
So Cherry Hill came out at the end of February of 2020. So we're coming up on 1 year, the 1 year birthday or anniversary of that album. I know I looked up today. I was like, what was the date of the show that we played? Because we played together at Blank Slate, Sure Machine, and you. That would have been March 1st. So you like
Yeah.
went right out on tour right after that album came out, right?
Yeah, I think the first night was actually the 28th, the night it was released.
And how long was that tour? How long were you out for?
Well, it got cut a little short. We only made it till the 8th before stuff started. Before, I mean, it was kind of like a gray area. Like, and some people were still doing shows, and but the rest of the shows that we had, like everybody decided that it was a better idea to cancel them. So there were a couple more that were gonna be good that we were excited for, but so I think we did like I think it only ended up being like a week, maybe 8 days, something like
Before
that.
you guys had cut it short?
Yeah, and we were actually already home. Like we had like 2 days off in Philly after the after we played Asbury Park, so we were already home, and everybody who was throwing the shows, we were all talking about it, and everybody just decided it was time to postpone them.
Yeah, I remember we had played. It was probably right around the same time. I think we had a show like on the 10th, and then everything in Ohio pretty much shut down like the end of that week or the beginning of the following week. And it was weird because at the time it seemed like it was only going to be temporary.
Yeah, the 2 weeks thing.
Yeah, like it's funny to think back about that now. And we had just it was probably around this time last year. My solo project had just announced we were going to be opening up for Rat Boys, and we were like super stoked about that. That was supposed to happen in April. So when all the shutdown happened in March, we were thinking like, okay, well, if we could just like stay inside for these 2 weeks, like everything will be okay. And that kind of kept happening for about a month before we figured out like this is gonna take a while.
Yeah. That would have been a good show too. The bummer.
Yeah. So like listening to Cherry Hell, a lot of the songs on that album are pretty much a full production, a full band. Um, but when you play your shows live, it's typically you're just by yourself, or maybe you have like one accompanying instrumentalist with you. Is that your typical live setup? Are you typically just by yourself?
Um, yeah, recently, usually, and like that's how it started too. Um, I've definitely had. There was a little bit where I was playing live with a full band too, but yeah, usually it's just me or me and Veronica playing and she'll play guitar or keyboard or both and sing on stuff. It's just a little easier
Yeah.
logistically.
Um, does that affect the way that uh, write or record your songs for an album, or do you not really worry about that?
Um, I don't think I really think about it too much. I definitely like the songs are definitely at their heart acoustic songs. Like that's how I write them, and like the song is always finished in terms of like guitar, vocals, and lyrics before I even start recording, and like that'll be the first thing. Like I know a lot of people do like drums first. I do drums last. I always go in and just play guitar and sing and start with that. So that's really like the backbone of it for
Hmm.
sure. So it doesn't, I mean, there are some songs that I don't really play live because I think that they're like, I don't feel like I do them justice without the other stuff. But for the most part, like, I don't really even record a song if I don't think it's good, just acoustic. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think you were saying like that you typically have everything kind of set before, you know, because you record your own stuff, right?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
So when you're recording an album, like this one, for example, have you already gone through like the demoing process? Like, are you building these tracks as you go, or do you already pretty much have the idea of, how the song's going to be built?
They kind of are the demos in a way.
Yeah.
uh, like I'll demo like the song just on like voice memos, but then and sometimes I'll have like ideas in my head of what the rest of the stuff will be, or I'll like think of like a bass line, say, and then I'll like sing that into my phone and label it like sweet, like whatever song bass line, and maybe that'll end up in the thing. But while I'm recording is definitely kind of like, I'm kind of like, I don't like doing anything twice because I'm kind of lazy. So like whenever I mean, a lot of times I'll go in like thinking that it's going to be demos, and then I'm just like, I like that one. I don't want to do it again. So it just ends up being the record.
Yeah, there's some kind of special magic with some of those recordings though, where you kind of, because you're not thinking it's a final draft, it ends up, sounding a certain way that maybe you're not expecting.
Yeah, you can kind of take some more risks and like, I mean, I like recording at home because it's less stressful. Like, you know, that's really it. Like I get like stressed if I feel like I'm like being watched, or if I feel like I'm wasting somebody's time by like not doing a good job and then having to do something over and over again.
Hmm.
Like, to me, it just makes more sense to do it like that.
Have all of your past releases been, recorded the same way?
Pretty much, except there was one that came out in 2018 called Gum Trash, and that was a full band that we did in the drummer Evan Bernard's studio.
Okay.
So that was like, and of course, like, I don't like my performances on any of that.
I've listened to all of your stuff, but I will say I continuously come back to Cherry Hell and Shrug. I feel like those albums have a cohesiveness to them, and I don't know if that was intentional, but just like the mood and the style and just the way that it sounds. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I think I do agree. I mean, those are definitely my favorite too, because yeah, I think they make sense. I don't think it was. I'm like, I want to be able to say that I'm intentional about stuff, but like I'm really not. It's just kind of like, I think that those came out sounding intentional, and I did try to like, I was trying to go into that direction after a certain point, but
Hmm.
I mean, Shrug was kind of like frantic, honestly. Like, I was at this place in my life where, I mean, I was just rushing to do everything because everything was all over the place. And I think that one ended up sounding cohesive just because um, it was all like vomited out at the same time. And then Cherry Hell was a much like longer process. And I think that ended up being cohesive for the opposite reason, maybe.
When you say that Cherry Hell was a longer process, uh, is that recording or writing or both?
Really recording, like, I mean, I didn't have a lot of free time at the time. Um, so I was And the songs actually were kind of pulled from like, I mean, some of them I pulled from like old snippets of like voice memos, like melodies and stuff like that from like years before. So like really the ideas are kind of pulled from all over the place. And then the recording was kind of like I did all the guitars and vocals in like probably like a week or two. And then the rest of the stuff like just ended up really very slowly getting added onto it over the course of like the next year probably.
How I'm trying to think of how to ask this question in a way that's not like confusing or potentially even offensive, but how many takes, like when when you're recording this, before you feel like you like what you have or that it's done? Because I know for like me personally, and I think a lot of, you know, recording people that record, vocals are the absolute worst. I hate doing vocals. I always double all of my vocals just to try and cover up, you know, the aspects of it that I maybe am self-conscious about. So when you're the fact that you record your own stuff, how long does that process typically take you in terms of like takes?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I think your vocals sound good. Uh,
Thanks.
however long it takes. I think I used to take longer with them. Um, I found, and actually Shrug wasn't recorded like this because the digital 8-track that I was using, one of the XLR inputs was like broken, so I only had one mic input at the time. So that was separate. But for Cherry Hell, I just played guitar and sang at the same time, and that made it so much easier, like to get it. Because I would always have this problem where it would just like I would just hate every vocal take, and like everything would feel unnatural, and I would really like just stress over every nuance and like overthink it. And then since doing it that way, I'm kind of just like, oh well, like it was a live take, and like I don't want to lose the feeling of that, so I'm not going to stress so much um over the like vocals.
Yeah, I didn't know, I didn't realize that essentially that, you know, it was a live take, because I feel like it, it's tough. I've tried to do that before, really just like with demos, but I always lose something in either the if I'm doing vocals and guitar at the same time, like it comes off as live, but I feel like I lose something, you know, playing wise, and you know, I definitely feel like the vocals in particular on Cherry Hell are very you can like feel the emotion in what you're singing, and I think that's one of my favorite part like aspects of the album. It's, you know, it's intimate in its sound, but also in its feeling.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I definitely I double everything too. You know,
Yeah,
I have
I
I like can't not. Except
same.
donut shop and long division weren't actually, but other than that,
There's one album that I did where I didn't double because I didn't have the time to, and I it's my least favorite of my albums, so that's
which one?
Death of Saturday Morning Cartoons.
I didn't hear that one. I
Yeah,
been listening to Until Tomorrow and Stay Golden and 3. I like those ones too.
those are like the three most recent ones, and I feel like those were the ones where I kind of figured out how I wanted my stuff to sound, um, which is which is also kind of the whole reason that, um, you know, I wanted to do this sort of conversation with you, is I feel like, you know, a lot of what you do is what I try to do too. I love the sound of you know, what you pull off. And I hear, you know, like on some of the songs, you know, you have like distorted guitars. Are you using electric and acoustic together on your albums, or do you typically just kind of lean towards the acoustic?
Yeah, all the ones that are like distorted are electric. The leads.
Yeah, because some of those tones are pretty cool. I um like specifically, you know, the first song, Freak, is got the little the fuzziness to it.
Oh, sorry, you broke up for a minute there. I kind
Oh,
of lost after.
oh, yeah. I was just talking about the first track, Freak. Like, yeah, there's some cool fuzzy tones in there that I really dig.
Oh, thanks. The secret is this $200 Fender amp.
Yeah. Is it stock distortion, or are you using pedals?
It I don't use pedals. I'll show you. It's this
Nice.
Fender Champion, uh, 5 or 600. I think they stopped making them now, but it's got like one tube and it's got a volume knob. And if you turn the volume knob up, it like overdrives it a little bit. It's
Yeah,
really nice.
like a natural overdrive, like the old
Yeah.
days.
Hmm. I think it's actually like a reissue of something that probably costs like $8,000. This one was not that much.
Yeah. Um, what about, because you were talking before about kind of pulling bits and pieces for this album. And I hate this question, but I have to ask it. Well, like, what is your writing process typically? Do you have a routine that you like to stick to, or do you kind of or does it, you know, kind of come to you in different ways for different albums?
I think it comes in different ways. There's definitely no routine. Um, you know, I make coffee every morning. About as much of a routine. Um, I usually will just be just like playing guitar, or even like sometimes I'll just be doing something else and I'll hear like the vocal melody and then remember it and try to remember it until I sit down with the guitar, or I'll just be playing some chords and something will click and I'll just, go with it from there.
Were there any
But usually,
songs were there any songs on Cherry Hell that particularly stuck in your head for long periods of time?
Bike kind of did. Like it was just something that I just played for like 2 seconds, like years ago, and was like, yeah, I'll record that, and it had like fake words and stuff. Like they always have like fake nonsense words at
Hmm.
first, and and that fucking song just wouldn't leave me alone. Like, I mean, I didn't even like go back and listen to it, but like every now and again, like that melody would pop into my head, and then there was a point where I was just like, well, I guess it's good in some way. Otherwise, I wouldn't keep singing it.
Sometimes that's the nudge, right? Like you think a song is not going to be used, and then it just gets stuck in your head to the point where you have to record it just to get rid of it.
Yeah, it wouldn't let me not really. It chose.
I mean, Donut Shop's got to be a melody that sticks in your head. I mean, that song is constantly stuck in my head.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In a good no, in a good way. I don't think any of your songs stick in my head in a bad way. So I can guarantee you that. But that like that, just that little particular riff. Um, like, do you remember what might have inspired that, or was it serendipitous? Like, were you just messing around and that happened to stick? Because I love that song.
Oh, thank you. The riff, I think I was playing. I don't know. I think I heard it. I don't really remember. That was, I think, the last song that I wrote and the last song that I recorded for the record.
Oh, okay. And it closed out the record too. So
And yeah, actually, Long Division and Nut Shop were the last two written and recorded, and they
cool.
were kind of separate. Like I had already done like all the other tracking, like all the other basic tracks first, and then I wrote those two songs. And there were a bunch of other songs that got cut when I was like, I'd rather put Long Division and Donut Shop on, but they're kind of more, they're not recorded as well. But I thought were good.
Do you have any like, do you ever mess with different tunings or anything, or is it pretty straightforward?
I'm pretty much standard. Usually, actually, I think Cherry Hill was East. I've been playing in D sharp standard, but I think Cherry Hill was in true standard, E standard. I'm not smart enough for different tunings. I mean, I've like messed around and like, I've written songs in like drop D, but anytime I like go into some like, I'm like, why don't I try this crazy tuning? I'm just like, I want to have to relearn how to play the guitar,
Yeah,
which is
I have
weird.
friends.
Like, I don't know what I'm doing in standard either. I'm just kind of making shapes, but like, I don't want to have to relearn the shapes.
Yeah, I have friends that will mess with weird tunings for various reasons, but one of the reasons um, that I often hear is to try and break like writer's block, to play in different tunings. And I tried it. I tried it once, and I didn't want to have to keep retuning live. So, you're going back to your laziness. That's my laziness. I don't want to change it. I just want to keep it the way it is and play it. Um, but I originally did that myself. I dropped my tuning to C sharp standard, and I really haven't left that tuning, but I had originally done that to try and break writer's block. So do you ever do anything that you feel like helps you when you are having trouble writing songs?
Um, a lot of times I just won't for like months. Sometimes I won't even like pick up an instrument. Sometimes like sometimes I'll just like write a song on the keyboard or something, and I don't know how to play the keyboard, like even less than I know how to play the guitar. So it just ends up being like a really like very fundamental, like you know.
Yeah, some
I
simple
mean,
thing.
sometimes it'll be that little spark. That's I mean I was kind of feeling like that, and I just wrote a song on the keyboard the other day that was like when I was just like fooling around with it for Veronica. She was like, "That's so annoying," because I was like just playing the chords, and it was just like so repetitive and simple. But then she liked it when I sang it.
It's the end result that matters, right?
Yeah, I tried to. I've tried to put my guitar in C sharp. How do you make it sound good?
Well,
Mine just sounds like really much.
the particular, I don't know, the particular guitars that I have, I guess just happen to work in that tuning. Um, I mean, I have a old Gibson Hummingbird that I got from my grandpa. That's like my main acoustic, and then the other one's an old Harmony Rocket that I don't know. They work in that tuning. I have tried it in some of like some of my other guitars, and it doesn't sound the same.
Yeah,
So it definitely the tonal qualities of the guitar make a difference. But I don't know. I did it. I liked it, and I never changed it.
I like the idea of it, and like I have a pretty low voice, so I feel like um, it would be suited to me too. but it sounds bad on my guitar. I tried it.
I feel like the guitar tones that you have, I'm actually surprised that in some ways I'm surprised that Cherry Hill was recorded in regular standard, because the tones on like the acoustic have like that deeper sort of feeling to them, where I would have just assumed that it would have been a lower tuning.
Yeah, it was a really nice. I actually I borrowed that guitar. Um, it was just like a old Yamaha, so I borrowed that guitar to record the record, and yeah, it came out really nice.
Yeah, were you using that guitar when you were on tour playing stuff live?
No, that I think I played a classical on that tour. It was the Cherry Hill was recorded with a big steel string, and then I got this classical, and I was playing that for a while. I just recently, with the couple months ago, I got like a Washburn, like big dreadnought. And I like that. It kind of sounds more like the one that I recorded the record with.
Hmm. How has the pandemic promotional aspect of all this, like how are you navigating that? Because I know everybody that's releasing music or released it around that time has kind of been doing things in different ways. Do you feel like there are any like pros or cons to trying to just get the album out and heard and all that without being able to tour?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say it's mostly cons because I mean, I'm not really like a internet minded person, so
Hmm.
I did some of like the live streams in the beginning when people would ask me to do them, and I mean, I'm not opposed to doing those, but I don't think it's the same, and I'm not like so. Basically, I haven't been doing much at all. I'm
Are
just kind
you
of waiting.
yeah, has it affected your creative side at all? Like, are you
Um,
writing?
I've been writing. I haven't recorded like anything since. And I was like, I mean, I was working like throughout the whole thing, like still going to work, and I mean, I'm out on workers' comp right now, but so this is the first time I've had like some real free time since the pandemic, but I still just haven't done shit really. Like
Mhm.
I've written like I've written a bunch of songs, but I haven't put them together yet.
What do you
But I
think?
don't know.
What do you think is because like I'm thinking about what what I don't know, like when I released my album in November, like it was already done. It had been done for like a year. So it was like it was going to come out, and I knew it was going to come out, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to play shows, so I had to try to like figure out how I was going to promote it myself. But now that we've gone through this for a while and I'm writing new songs, I'm like ready to record, but I don't know if I want to. Like I know you said that you weren't, and is that a purposeful decision, or just you just haven't felt like it, or like what do you think is next moving forward?
I think I kind of just haven't felt like it, to be honest. Like, I mean, I've tried, and like, I mean, I've recorded some songs, but nothing like just like acoustic guitar and vocals, and I think some of them are okay, but it didn't really like click as like, oh, this is gonna be. It didn't kick me into like record making mode, so it just kind of went away.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely. If I think if you're not feeling it, it's hard to try to force, you don't want to force it.
Yeah, but like I'm not opposed to it, I mean, I have been like we just moved and I just like this past week got like it's the first time out I ever have a room that is for recording music. So I just kind of got that all set up and I'm hoping just like sitting in here will make me want to do something.
Yeah, that's great. Um, so the the last thing, I guess this is kind of like the closing question or whatever. Um, I think Cherry Hell is an album that I would assume you're absolutely proud of. But like what would you say is like comparing it to your previous work? What is it about that album that kind of stands out as like the pinnacle thing for you? Is it a song or the way it sounds, or what aspect of the album are you like the most proud of?
um I think it's kind of just better on all fronts. I mean, maybe everyone thinks that when they're making stuff, but I mean, I I definitely think it sounds the best at least in terms of the ones that I've recorded myself because I have been very slowly learning as I go.
Mhm.
So in every like I think the next one that I make will sound better in that way too, just because I learned from um, what not to do from the ones before it. And I think I don't know, but I think the songs are the best out of all of them, and I think they are more cohesive. I don't know. I think it's the best one, just because
Yeah,
it is. I don't know
sure.
if there's a.
Do you still have like tapes and physical copies available?
I have some CDs left. The tapes are all gone. Just CDs.
Yeah. So where would you direct people, that are watching this to listen to your music or check out your music?
Um, yeah, I mean it's on everything, all the things. If you wanted to buy it, it's on Bandcamp, gregmendez.bandcamp.com. Um, yeah.
Cool. Well, I absolutely appreciate you, taking time out of your day to talk about this. Again, I think congratulations is certainly in order. I think it's a great album, and I think everybody should check out all of your work. I think you write great songs, and it's definitely stuff that I gravitate towards. So, thank you, and thank you to everyone watching through Blank Slate.
Well,
Hopefully, we
thank you
can
for.
hope, hopefully we can hang out again, in person.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. It's been nice chatting.
For sure. All right, take care.
You too.